What's going on, good people of the internet? It is time for OnComicsGrounds.com's flagship podcast, panel to panel, where a bunch of folks shoot the breeze and talk about comic books and such. We are back once again with a brand new episode for you good folks, where we are going to be talking about comic books and whatever else we're going to talk about. But before we do, please make sure that you subscribe and listen to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, YouTube, Overcast, Podcast Public, all those great things, except for SoundCloud. We don't support SoundCloud. I'm waiting to hear back from iHeartRadio, but I still have not heard back from them. But in the meantime, you can check us out on all those services. Please make sure you review us on Apple Podcasts. That way people can find us easier. And you can follow us on Twitter at PTP_podcast and check out the website on Comics Ground on Twitter and Instagram at On Comics Ground. And check out the website on -comics-ground.com on the web. The web. Well, because I said on, I was not thinking, and I'm like, the web. And you can check out all of our reviews.
Circa 1998.
I know, right? You can check out all of our reviews and solicitations and previews that we post every weekday for you good folks. And that's all the housekeeping, but let's get into our cast here. My name is James Portis. To my left, we have the Afro Man who is officially liberated and has moved out and is starting out on a new chapter. We have Travis Tucker. How you doing today?
Feeling pretty good, man. It was really cathartic, but I am tired physically, but it's whatever.
All right. And then we have the woman who is very excited about what we are going to be talking about today and made an impressive outline, might I add. Mary, how you doing today?
I'm doing okay. I figured my second topic for this would be better, instead of making both of you sit through 16 years of Runaways.
And man, I'm good until Whedon. I would have did it. I swear. I was good until Whedon, and then I fell off on Runaways. I was there from the beginning, and then just dropped. So I'd have been down for it. I mean, we had to make Travis read a couple trades, but that would have been easy.
No. I'm talking about starting from BKV and going all the way to Rowell. All 16 years.
I mean, it would have been nice to reread A-Force, but
except Secret Wars, because that just doesn't count.
Oh yeah, no, let's not. No. Okay, well, as you saw from our Twitter feed, that we are going to be talking about who should be the current Wolverine. Y'all can kiss my ass. That's how I feel. Because back in the day, we had the amazing event written by Charles Soule, The Death of Wolverine, where Logan took his final breaths as he was covered in liquid adamantium. And he finally met his end after decades of existing. And as all new, all different Marvel kicked into gear, his clone / daughter, Laura Kinney, was given the mantle of Wolverine. And for all intents and purposes, most people were okay with this. She had been around for about a decade now or so. People had accepted her, and we were good. But we even got an extra Logan to come in the form of Old Man Logan written by Jeff Lemire, and people accepted that too. But for whatever reason, someone decided to bring OG Logan back and take away the mantle from Laura for a while. Now, granted, in some books like X-Men Red, she was fine, and this was kind of still Wolverine until what was it? It was X-Men Disassembled, I believe. They just Yeah.
It was when everybody got blasted off to that weird dimension, and Rosenberg's like, I'm gonna kill all of the remaining X-Men.
Ugh. And then Mariko Tamaki's like, I'm gonna take Laura and Gabby over here, and they relaunched X-23, and then it got canceled again, and it's just, she is Wolverine. No one can take that away from her, and we're gonna go back to the beginning, and Mary is going to walk us through this amazing character.
Okie dokes. Since this is kind of the first time on the show where we've been looking at an entire solo series, I figured we could kind of break it down a little differently. That instead of, like last week, we were able to break down the story issue by issue and talk about the big points all the way through. But this is a book that has, 35 regular issues and a couple of annuals, so let's round off and say 40 issues. We would be here for a while if we tried to do that. So, I figured...
That would be a long time.
That would be a long time. But I figured it would be really interesting if we kind of broke the book down into core themes and elements. Because, since her inception, Laura's main arc has always kind of tied into the notion of family.
All right.
But, and so when I was going through making the outline, I kind of picked a couple of different themes, and that all of these themes overlap as they should, so we're going to do our best to break this down while minimizing, having to go back, overlapping, in a sense, as it were. My brain just completely failed right now.
Are you okay?
Yeah, it's been a long day, so my brain's like, oh, you're saying words, but I'm actually not processing them right now, so good luck with that. But if you're listening to the episode, I'm kind of just going to assume that you're familiar with Laura's origin. And if you haven't read All-New Wolverine, obviously spoilers for the entire series. Yeah.
But we can say she got her start on the best X-Men show ever. Don't at me.
Yes.
I'm gonna do that.
Laura's not necessarily her origin story, but her first appearance. It's kind of a Harley Quinn situation where she was made for the cartoon, and was just so well loved, and the fans took to her so quickly that they're like, wait a minute, let's just pull her into the comic books. We saw how that worked for Harley Quinn. And it's just one of those situations that I know a lot of newer readers that if you tell them Laura started out as a cartoon character, it's kind of legitimate shock.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Because with Harley, Batman the Animated Series is a hugely celebrated series. X-Men, oh god, what generation? Evolution, thank you. X-Men Evolution, not really so much.
Which is a crime!
Absolutely, it is a crime. I loved, super goth Rogue and super goth Scarlet Witch.
Yes!
But, it had the same problem that all the X-Men cartoons were, that it wasn't really collected. Because unless you had the X-Men the Animated Series VHS tapes, you really couldn't find them anywhere else.
It's not even on Disney Plus now, and it makes me sad.
You want to know the hilarious thing?
What?
My mother-in-law still has the X-Men Animated Series VHS tapes.
That's awesome.
Yeah. No, she has the entire series on VHS. Now, there's not a working VCR in the house.
Oh, wait, no, X-Men Evolution is on Disney Plus. I'm freaking crazy. I don't know what I'm doing later.
I might have to use a free trial because I'm not paying for that crap.
Yeah, I'll hook you on the profile.
Works for me.
I guess you have 7, so I'll hook you up with one.
Oh, yay. Anyway, back to the task at hand, other than, conspiring to share profiles here.
Wow.
But just as kind of a brief, overview, All-New Wolverine takes place, like James said, after Logan's death, pretty soon after, because there was the weekly series Wolverines, which followed Death of Wolverine, which was strange to say the least.
Yep.
I mean, I feel like the whole book was written just for Mystique to be a dick in the end.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
But so eventually Tom Taylor gets on All-New Wolverine, and when I heard that Laura was going to be Wolverine, I was very excited because that's kind of the next step in her evolution, if you will. Ba-dum-ching. And Tom Taylor decided to do something very interesting but very tricky when it comes to X-Men writers, introducing new characters.
Ooh.
And now they make New Mutants all the time, but those mutants typically only stick around for a little bit, and fans don't really pay a lot of attention to them. But and especially when he, Taylor was in the lead up, Taylor's like, hey, she's gonna have a sister, and everyone's like, what the fuck are you doing? Because I was skeptical of shit. I didn't actually pick it up until about 5 issues in because I was so skeptical.
I remember picking it up right when I was getting really frustrated that Power Man and Iron Fist was getting derailed because of Civil War 2. and then I saw Laura was Wolverine on the shelf, and I was like, all right, I'm down. Because I had been like a long time Wolverine fan for years, like even especially when I was working on coming out and Dakin was a thing. I was like, oh yeah, I'm down. And I went back and read so much Wolverine crap, and I fell in love with Laura. So the idea of her being Wolverine was very intriguing.
I love that Dakin's like rebellion, if you will, is to have a slightly more orange Wolverine suit.
Yes.
Dark Wolverine, but he's wearing orange.
And then when they did the Dark X-Men, he went full red with it. And I was like, really, bro? Really?
Bro, it kind of brings me back to what Birds of Prey had said, where it's a weird way to impress your father.
Yes. I still have those Jai Lee signed Dark X-Men covers around here somewhere.
Oh, total side note, James, I got 2 of the 5 edits back from this new cat.
Thank you. Also, Mary, we need to talk C2E2 plans because I need to send you some money.
Yeah, we gotta book that hotel still. But okay, let's just go ahead and jump into the story. I've kind of broken it down arc by arc with the first big theme that I pulled, which is family. And, you know, given her relationship with Logan and Laura Kinney and, you know, even Deborah and Megan, family has always been a point of contention for Laura. But in the Four Sisters story arc, Laura discovers that she not only that, you know, the X program, the X-23 program has been continuing, but, you know, there is a group of clones that she runs into that are genetically her sisters, if you will. And I don't want to get too deep into that story arc because it, like I said, we'd be here all night if, you know, we just sat here and blasted through the whole thing. But there are 3 sisters. There's Gabby, who, you know, we will obviously talk more about later on. There's Zelda, who I like, just she's a MacGuffin, in my opinion. And then you have Bologna. That may not be how it's pronounced, but that's kind of how I've always pronounced it. But we see Laura and the girls get together and trying to... Laura, in a sense, kind of tries to liberate them from where they're being held, and God damn it. See, this is what happens when I have to lead an episode. My brain's like, nope, just nope, you can't.
You got this.
I think it's the problem of like my notes are overly detailed that I don't really know where to go.
Alchemechs are dicks.
Yeah, no, they are. So Laura ends up working with the sisters to kind of try and get them out of that situation, and we find out that they're all dying. And this serves to be a huge problem later on. She essentially blackmails Doctor Strange into helping her out.
I love it so much. And then they break into Pym Lab just to get the Pym particle suit. I was laughing my butt off.
Mm-hmm. And Laura's need to protect this new family that she has quickly becomes obsessive. To the point where, you know, she enlists the help of Wasp to shrink down and go inside of Zelda's body, who is dying quicker than the others because they have been injected with nanobites that have neutralized their pain receptors, but they also don't have healing factors like Laura does. So it's just kind of this big genetic mess. And Zelda does end up dying in the end. And it's, you know, the first bit that Laura can't save her. And Bologna, who we might talk about more later if we have time, kind of goes off, sort of abandoning Gabby, who everyone was trying to protect. So this kind of leaves Gabby in a sensitive place. And that's more or less where the first story arc comes to an end, with Laura agreeing to take in Gabby, where Logan would not take in Laura. We're going to see that relationship expanded on more later.
Which is so crazy because of the fact of Tom Taylor goes out of his way to basically say Laura's gonna do shit her way. She's not just gonna walk through and keep having problem after problem like Logan does. Like, yeah, your past is always gonna bite you in the ass because you're a Wolverine, but like it's not gonna be the same like Japanese fighting or the same this, the same that with Logan. But like she has her own problems, her own rogues gallery, and her own clones to worry about.
Mm-hmm. And unfortunately for this book, the next story arc ties into Civil War II, and I hated that Marvel did that. So we have this rando storyline. We have the storyline that is completely interrupted by the fact that they have to hunt down Old Man Logan, because Ulysses has had a vision that Logan is going to kill Gabby. So Gabby and Laura have settled in the apartment. They're kind of getting used to being around each other. Laura's traditionally been on her own, and now she's a big sister and doesn't really know what to do with it, so she starts kind of emulating Logan very heavily with how Logan treated her. Kind of as I'll protect you, I'll keep you safe. In a sense, kind of in the way that I read it, almost infantilizing Gabby a little bit.
Now, to her credit, though, the going off of instinct, but also at the time, she didn't know Gabby had powers.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, and that becomes a huge plot device for the Civil War story arc, because I kind of dropped off with that. But in the end of Four Sisters, it is revealed to us, the reader, that Gabby has powers, because she takes to Laura very quickly. Because, Gabby has been through hell. Same with the rest of the sisters. The sisters tried to protect her because Gabby's, 12 or 13? But Gabby takes to Laura very quickly because Laura has kind of overcome her Wolverine, her nature to try to be a better person. And Gabby wants to do that too. So there's actually this really fun moment where she pops her claw out and stabs it in front of this guy, and she says, "I want you to know this is how close you got." And then she says, "Bye," and skips away.
Oh,
the
innocence there.
Like, those two panels are so quintessentially who Gabby is as a person. And that's something that we'll get into more later, about how it's easy on face value to see Gabby as just a mirror image of Laura, when in reality she is so much more than that.
It was hard for me not to see that at first, and especially when it almost felt like Gabby had an expiration date, especially when what they do there at the end of the Civil War II arc, where they have the whole moment of Logan is even like, if you hurt her, I will hunt you down, and she says the same thing back to him, and you see that almost devilish smile from her, and it's like, this could go badly.
Oh yeah. But in the Civil War II story arc, like I said, Ulysses had the dumbass property, the dumbass prophecy that so they have to hunt down Old Man Logan, and it's really interesting to see Laura and Old Man Logan kind of interact a bit. And I will keep calling him Old Man Logan to differentiate from 616 Logan.
Yes.
But it's interesting to see them interact, because Tom Taylor adds a certain layer to the Old Man Logan mythos, that not only did Logan indeed have Laura, he raised her as his daughter. So there wasn't this, strange touch and go that 616 and Logan and Laura had, that Laura was raised as his daughter. And we find out that the big twist of the story arc is that Old Man Logan knows exactly who Gabby is and knows exactly what she can do. Because in his universe, Gabby and Laura essentially killed each other in a fight. That, Gabby's not this sweet, innocent girl. She was trained as that assassin, and she and Laura killed each other. So he kind of has that innate hate for Gabby in the back of his mind. But what do you do when she's presented to you as like a 12, 13-year-old kid?
Yep.
And he does make a genuine effort to try. And that is kind of where I do give him credit for that. And it's only after he goes feral that he ends up attacking her. And he it's actually a full page spread of when he runs Gabby through with his claws.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really gruesome panel, because this book is rated M. It's a parental advisory labeled book, but it is strange to see that happening to a kid in a comic book,
Yeah.
That I'm not sitting here clutching my pearls at it, but to add to, just kind of the emotional impact that the scene has on Laura, because Laura's standing right there when it happens. And Laura thinks that Gabby is dead at that point. And you see Laura pitted against Old Man Logan in a way that breaks his heart, but also breaks hers. And the dialogue of what she's talking about, she's like, you're not him, referring to 616 Logan. He was loved. He'll be missed. You are nobody. And Laura is content to kind of turn her back on her principles, because she's trying real hard not to kill people right now.
Mm-hmm.
She is ready to kill him because of what he did. And that would be, you could argue the logistics of that, but the fact that was a moment that she was ready to turn lethal again, because he took Gabby away from her, much in the sense that Gabby had taken Laura away from Old Man Logan. So I think this is one of the first times you start to see the mirror being put up, and Taylor does this really well. It's not played for, oh my god, here's a similarity.
Yeah.
That it's very subtle. But then Gabby pops up and she's like, no, wait, I'm fine. And she stops Laura from doing it. And that's when Laura finds out what we already know, that not only does she have a healing factor, she also has this really cute, singular little bone claw.
Yup. It's like each time we get a clone, the claw number just goes down.
It's real funny. And I think this, the Civil War II story arc, as much of a crapshoot as it is, it's a very well written arc. I just hate that it's tied to such a stupid event. It really starts to cement the relationship between Laura and Gabby, that okay, they're operationally sisters, if that makes any sense. That Laura has allowed herself to have this attachment, because Laura's always, and understandably so, has always been very reserved in her attachment. Usually she has problems admitting it, and it's this whole big thing, because there's, what's Sand? The mutant that can do all the crap with the sand. Is her name Sand?
Husk?
Because I know she and Laura have a thing that's sort of gay. But that's a topic for another time.
It'd be better than her dating time-displaced Angel. Because I hated that.
I hate it too. Like, you could.
There might come.
He pops up. He pops up in Four Sisters, and it is very clear that he is more into her than she is him.
Yes, that was the entire relationship from All-New X-Men in a nutshell. Like, Laura, you don't have to be here. Go, just go. Like, get away from this. Like, just be better than this. Like, there will come a day where James just has a bitch fit and goes on a rant about why the time displaced X-Men were a bad thing, and I'm gonna have a great time.
But see, even funnier, because I joked that she kind of had this weird gay thing, is that Craig Kyle, the original creator of X-23, did make a point to say that if he ever got to continue Laura's story, it would be that she would come out. That to him, Laura has always been gay.
I'm cool with that.
And I'm just kind of like, okay, bring him back. Let's make this happen. I have like a stack of unposted fanfics we can go through. Like,
really?
I mean, I don't have a stack, but
hey, that's pretty cool though.
But like, no, I am here for that. And honestly, for her character, it makes sense. And this is me. And I like to reach and find things that probably aren't there, but that actually ties into a point that I have later.
Ooh.
Yeah. because this is me. You guys know that I will find the gay in anything.
Yes.
But from Civil War II, we move on to Enemy of the State. And that has Laura discovering that she doesn't necessarily have to be Gabby's sole protector. And that Gabby is not her dependent. Because, we find out that Gabby has a healing factor. She has the nanites, so Gabby doesn't feel pain. And she has the bone claw. We knew she was an accomplished fighter because of the Four Sisters story arc. Because, like Laura, she was raised to be an assassin. So Gabby can hold her own, but Laura is still really hesitant, as one would be. But she can trust Gabby to help her too. Because this involves, pirates and all kinds of things like that. And we see Gabby kind of have to act on her own independently of Laura. And I think that actually kind of helps subvert the notion that Gabby is Laura's moral compass. Because All-New Wolverine is Gabby's story just as much as it is Laura's.
Mm-hmm.
So, that kind of... It shows us and Laura that Laura doesn't have to be Gabby's Logan or Gabby's Sarah Kinney. That Gabby needs the support, but she doesn't necessarily need a parent. She needs a sister.
Yep.
And she just has to be Gabby's Laura. She doesn't have to be anyone else. And that's kind of the big thing I took away from this arc. Like I said, I don't want to dive too deeply into it, even though that's exactly what I keep doing.
That's fine.
But this arc is some fun because Kimura comes back, Gambit makes an appearance, Jean Grey pops up. So it is just...
Is it time to splice Jean Grey?
No, actual Jean.
Thank God.
Yeah, no, actual Jean pops up because Kimura pops back up, and this is where we start to see the trigger scent come back.
This is where I fell off for a bit because the fact that I came back around the time that she got in the black suit.
Mm-hmm. That is for the story arc after this one. But there's a really intense moment in the beginning where Laura's trigger scent is reintroduced. That that Laura is trying to get her and Gabby out of New York City because, Alchemex is popping, is sniffing back around, and things from Civil War are happening, and Laura's like, let's just get the fuck out of here, let's go off the grid, and grab Jonathan, who I cannot believe I have not mentioned yet.
How dare you?
How dare I? There's an absolutely bizarre issue where Squirrel Girl pops up because Laura has wronged the squirrel world.
How dare she?
So Laura's in for an ass whipping.
Yes. Because in the Four Sisters story arc, there's a tracking device that Laura has that she pops on a squirrel and sends on his way. So, but Squirrel Girl finds out about it, and Laura has wronged the squirrel world and must make it right. But
Laura has wronged the squirrel world.
But she shows up at Laura's apartment holding an actual honest-to-God Wolverine. Because she thinks that it will help Laura to have an animal perspective on the situation, and Laura has to reveal to Squirrel Girl that she cannot talk to Wolverines. And it sounds ridiculous, but it's one of those moments of just genuine humor that this book has. And Tom Taylor is criminally talented. It should be illegal for him to be as talented as he is.
I agree. Go read Injustice and try to prove us wrong.
Injustice, the new Suicide Squad book. I mean,
oh yes,
Taylor. He doesn't. It's not perfect, but he is damn talented.
Yes.
But when but they decide to keep the Wolverine after that whole story arc is done because Gabby becomes very attached to him. Because you come home with a puppy to surprise the kid, but for Gabby, you come home with a Wolverine, and she's going to keep it.
I'm okay with this.
And she names him Jonathan, and at various points in the book, just all kinds of shenanigans ensue. They actually, in the beginning of the Enemy of the State story arc, they're taking him on a walk through Central Park. He has a little harness and everything. They're just, walking this Wolverine through Central Park.
Love it. That's such a comic thing to do, and I love it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, at one point, Gabby makes him a costume. He has like one of those little dominoes that Robin wears.
Nice.
It is just too adorable. And I promise I'm not going to do this very often, but to kind of circle back to this plot point from Civil War II, at one point, the four of them are in the apartment, Gabby, Laura, Old Man Logan, and Jonathan, and somebody tries to break in. And it is just the funniest goddamn moment in the world because all of them just bust out laughing. You, in a sense, have three Wolverines and an actual Wolverine in the apartment that these dumb bastards just try to break into.
Yeah, and I just Googled the Wolverine. It's like a dog bear.
Yeah, it's a dog bear. And it has really sharp, scary claws and teeth.
Yes.
But circling all the way back to the Enemy of the State story, I am all over the place. I have this nice detailed little outline, and I'm just all over the goddamn place.
Hey man, it's good. It's good. I'm having fun with this. I like this.
Yeah. But in Enemy of the State, we're reintroduced to Laura's trigger scent, and there's this really intense scene in the beginning where Laura's just trying to get gas or ask directions, or I don't remember precisely what she's doing, and she notices that the trigger scent has been released, and she tries to tell these people to run. And for the entire story arc, it's presented that Laura has slaughtered an entire small town full of people. That she believes that she has absolutely just massacred all of these people, because that's normally what happens when her trigger scent pops up. But what she actually did was drive her own claws directly into her brain.
Damn.
And because in a half-second attempt to stop herself, she just takes her claws and just drives them directly into her brain. But, it's Kimura and the rest of the bad guys are able to use that, like, oh my god, Laura, you killed all these people. But Enemy of the State is probably one of my favorite story arcs, just because, it's the first one where each part of the arc, it's just a bunch of moving parts that it all works together very well. I'm not saying that the previous two arcs are bad. It's just Enemy of the State is where things kind of start to get going, because they go to Madripoor. Laura has to deal with Kimura again. Like, Gambit throws a can of beans instead of playing cards.
Oh god.
Yeah, he uses a can of beans instead, and it creates this massive explosion, and he briefly considers switching from playing cards to beans.
I love it.
But moving on from this, we have the Immune story arc, where, in my opinion, it has the underlying theme of family unity. In the first half of the arc, frankly, is just to kind of introduce Dakin into the book.
Dakin!
Because an alien lands, and inadvertently a plague is released upon this area of New York City. And when the alien dies, it's talking about Laura Kinney. So, S.H.I.E.L.D. brings her in. It turns into the whole big thing. And the Wolverine family, if you will, has to come together because their healing factor, coupled with other plot devices, are what can cure people. So you have Laura and Gabby. They bring back Old Man Logan to kind of reconcile what happened. Deadpool is there because he also has a healing factor. And then Dakin comes as well. So the five of them kind of have to basically just walk around and touch people. But it proves to be too much, and so Gabby has to tap out early, and everybody but Laura has to tap out at some point. But, however, I do think that most of the character development from this arc does come from Jonathan, ironically. Because the whole plague thing you think would span the rest of the arc, but it actually doesn't. Once the plague is cured, Laura goes off to space to try and figure out what the hell happened. I kind of think Tom Taylor just wanted to write the Guardians of the Galaxy. Because that's who they pair up with for that. And Gabby, doing the sensible thing, brings Jonathan with her. And at one point, so they're trying to This is kind of a messy arc, in my opinion, because they're trying to figure out what the cause of this plague was. They're with the Guardians of the Galaxy, and the Brood are there.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
At one point, and it's all happening at the same time. That they get to this alien research facility, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. Then the Brood pop up, and the Guardians are there, and it is so much. It is so much. Like, Gabby becomes a Brood Queen for a hot minute.
What?
Yes, Gabby becomes a Brood Queen.
I have all these issues in my long box, but I never read them. I was just collecting it for a while.
Yeah.
So a Wolverine clone becomes a Brood Queen.
Yes.
Yes.
That is buck-ass wild.
Gabby's nanites play into it a lot. It's part of what actually sets her apart from Laura. But
Okay.
if I remember correctly, because I kind of speed read through the whole thing, and I'll admit I just kind of shot through that arc real quick because it's not really my favorite. But I think the nanites have something to do with Gabby kind of being able to bust herself out of being a Brood Queen.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, I read 35-ish issues in the course of like 3 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's... Whew.
Yeah. Speed reading. Woo. But I do think that most of the family development in the story arc does come from Jonathan, because he's been kind of a cute little pet up until now. Like, he does things, he's adorable, he has teeth and growls a lot, just like the rest of them. But he ends up trying to protect Gabby during a Brood attack and gets hurt. Because the Brood are coming at her, and he jumps in while wearing his cute little costume and bites one of the Brood and gets flung off. And he hits the wall, and he's hurt. So Rocket Raccoon, towards the end of the story arc, Rocket Raccoon is trying to figure out what's wrong with Jonathan, but he can't communicate. So Rocket just slaps the Universal Translator on Jonathan, and Jonathan is able to speak for a little bit.
Oh, wow.
And now it's very broken because he doesn't know how to talk, obviously. So it's broken syntax and all that shit. And he ends up professing his love for Gabby and Laura, saying that he loves them. He calls Laura the angry one. He says, thank you, and angry one, for taking me in, for liking me. He says, we'll die for you.
Damn, I really like Jonathan now.
Yeah, he says, we'll die for you, also hungry. He makes it a point to point out that he is hungry. And Jonathan is a Wolverine that was from an animal testing facility that Squirrel Girl had been able to get him out of. So he also lost his family as well. There is an issue where Gabby and Deadpool end up having to go back to the facility because Jonathan wants to find his family. And it's actually really pretty dark.
Damn.
That his brothers and sisters were tested on, have been killed, are zombies, and are zombie Wolverine dogfighting. And Jonathan has to experience that, and it's really pretty sad. Because Tom Taylor could write in zombie Wolverine fights while making it very emotional.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think a lot of the development in that arc comes from Jonathan, professing his love for the girls, that, saying that he'll die to protect them if he has to. That, he's not just a pet at that point. He is part of the family. And
wow.
This moves us into Orphan of X, which I believe is the strongest of all the family narratives here. The Orphans of X are a group of folks who have lost loved ones or have been personally victimized by Logan, Lady Deathstrike, Sabretooth, and others with those kinds of powers. So,
sounds like y'all got a grudge.
Mm-hmm. And naturally, this draws Laura and Gabby in their path, where, again, they meet up with Dakin.
Dakin!
But the very surprising thing is that this sees the return of another character, sort of, that we didn't think we'd see again. Most shockingly, it's Sarah Kinney comes back.
Oh shit.
But is it Sarah Kinney?
Oh shit.
Yeah. But we also see Deborah and Megan come back, who are Sarah's sister and niece, respectively. They are pretty large characters in the original X-23 run, because after Laura escapes the facility, she finds Deborah and Megan, and they do take her in until shit hits the fan and Laura has to leave them. So that was kind of Laura's last big attempt at trying to find a family. So Laura, Gabby, and Dakin have to come together to rescue Old Man Logan and, to a lesser extent, Deathstrike, Sabretooth, all that kind of thing.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's Laura having to rescue them, confront these other people, and try to make peace all at the same time.
I mean, at least this is during the period where Sabretooth wasn't a dickhole, though.
I mean, there is that. Admittedly, he really doesn't have much to do. He just kind of sits there and gets shot.
I can't remember. Is this before or after X-Men Gold and Blue?
Shit.
Because that determines if he was still running with Magneto or not. Orphans of X. 2018 X-Men Blue. Oh, yep, yeah, X-Men Blue had already started, so yep, that was after he had left the Uncanny X-Men, so yeah, he was free game for fun like that.
What I think is hysterical is that this story arc, because it's a Wolverine book, we're going back to Japan.
Yes!
They end up going back to Japan. But the Muramasa sword actually makes a comeback. And Laura gets some dope armor that is made along similar lines. And it is a very cool story arc. It's got some of the best action. And we see, like I said, some of the best family development, because this is really the first time that Dakin and Laura can openly embrace each other as siblings. Because it's been kind of a strange relationship between the two of them, because, you know, you have Wolverine's, you know, biologically conceived son and, you know, his sort of clone. I forget in what issue of it's some Avengers book that Laura pops up that Taylor actually retconned Laura being his clone. That yeah, basically Taylor retconned it to that Laura isn't Logan's direct clone, but she is also the biological daughter of Sarah Kinney.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Not that, you know, they did the Devil's Tango or anything, but that in the development process, one of Sarah Kinney's eggs was used, and she is technically the biological daughter of Logan.
Okay.
It's an issue of an Avengers book. It's an issue of an Avengers book, and I don't remember which one it is. I'll have to do some poking around, but I know that has been retconned.
Okay.
But no, it's got some of the best action. There's a lot of fun family stuff going on. Sarah Kinney maybe or may not be Sarah Kinney. It's not. It's an Orphan of X thing.
Oh.
Yeah, they get pretty scary at times, actually, because usually this isn't one of those throwaway people think mutants are a bad group. Like, they have legitimate motivations to be scared. Obviously they have a motivation to be scared, but not take the radical extremes that they do. But, you know, it's Taylor. Of course it's complex. He managed to take the whole regime narrative from the first Injustice game and make it good.
Yeah.
But, Dakin also is the one that ends up giving Gabby the name Honey Badger.
I thought she made that up.
It was Dakin. Because she was trying...
Honey Badger?
Honey Badger.
He didn't know.
Yeah, Gabby for a period of time is Honey Badger. Because she's lamenting the fact that she doesn't have a cool superhero name. Like, you know, she's not Wolverine. They've both been Wolverine at some point, and that she's just Gabby. And Dakin casually tosses out that she should just be Honey Badger because she's sweet but deadly.
Okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
there's a really
related forest creatures.
Yeah. But there is a festive moment there where Gabby's like, oh my god, it's perfect. And so around her is kind of this meta shot of all of the famous Wolverine covers. That's just her, but it says Honey Badger instead.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, like I said, it's one of those moments of genuine humor that Taylor easily works in without making it seem overly cheesy. But moving on from this, the book is kind of starting to wind down a bit, and it leads us into our last story arc, which is Old Woman Laura.
Ooh.
And it is an alternate future storyline, and he makes it, because obviously anytime Marvel does a future storyline, it's an alternate future, and I'm using air quotes over here. But Laura is now, it's 20 years later, I believe. Yes. And it opens up where we see Wolverine jumping around doing some shit, and Wolverine has laser claws.
What?
It's a laser claw.
What?
Laser claw.
Jedi Wolverine.
Yes.
It's an inhibitor that when the claw pops out, it's essentially a lightsaber claw. And we find out in the opening. We quickly find out in the opening scene that it's not Laura, it's Gabby. Because Gabby's running down some weapons traders off the coast of Madripoor and ends up getting blasted through the chest with like this massive cannon. And she looks down and, she looks down at this massive hole in her chest and she's kind of like, this was really unnecessary, guys.
Damn.
But it's 20 years in the future. Gabby has fully taken over as Wolverine, and Laura is Queen of Madripoor.
Kamala Khan is fucking president.
Kamala Khan is president. It's great. It's great.
God damn.
And
sounds like they're going buck wild in there.
I think Tom Taylor was just like, you know what, middle fingers to everybody. Kamala Khan's president.
Well, I mean, he does the outrageous well, as you guys cited Injustice, because I'm just thinking of like humor peppered in. It's like, why does Lobo have a Green Lantern ring? Good question.
But no, Kamala Khan is president. Laura is Queen of Madripoor. Gabby's running around here as Wolverine. And it's kind of where the theme of family starts to draw to a close. Because one of the sisters in the first story arc, Bellona, just kind of leaves at the end after Zelda dies. And, we have kind of that lost sister thing still hanging in the air, so Laura decides to go rescue her lost sister after revealing to Gabby and everyone that she's dying. She's experiencing some kind of cellular breakdown, and, she's rapidly running out of time.
Oof, damn.
And it's really kind of heartbreaking the way she reveals it to Gabby because it's so matter of fact. Because, like I said, Gabby gets those gun runners and she gets back and, they have this witty banter and, Gabby pulls out some food and they're talking. And Gabby is married at this point in time. She's married and has a couple of kids. And this is kind of where it starts to get a little interesting because X-Men Red was running simultaneously along with All-New Wolverine there towards the end. And there's an offhanded comment in X-Men Wolverine that indicates that Gabby might be gay. Because newly resurrected Jean Grey, who is leading the X-Men, has to essentially use herself as a comm buoy and gets in everyone's head and is able to communicate. She's a psychic communicator, basically.
Yes.
And Gabby makes an offhanded comment about how she's still trying to process her feelings, that she has the feelings related to seeing a girl on the bus. And she wants kind of Jean to not address that because she's still trying to figure it out. And it's not exactly tongue-in-cheek. It's a very deliberate line, and it kind of, adds to the is Tom Taylor trying to say that Gabby's gay? Well, in the scene where, in the old woman Laura story arc where Gabby comes in and, she and Laura are bantering, Laura asks how Gabby's spouse is doing, and there are no pronouns used for the spouse.
It just says Taylor.
The spouse's name, weirdly enough, is Taylor. And I don't think it has anything to do with Tom Taylor being weird. I mean, Comicsgate was running with that around the time that Tom Taylor married his own comic character.
Oh my god.
But yeah,
wow, piece of shit.
Yeah, that Tom Taylor had been. Yeah, I'm just not even gonna finish that.
Let me unpack that real quick. So the guys with body pillows, with their favorite anime girl on it, were making fun of Tom Taylor for potentially marrying his own character.
Yeah. I think the use of Taylor was for a couple of different things. One, Taylor is actually a very gender neutral name these days.
Yes.
That I know, plenty of people who identify as men who go by Taylor. I know plenty of people who identify as girls that go by Taylor. It's a very gender neutral term. And there is actually almost an unnecessary repeated use of the name Taylor when the two of them are talking. It is very deliberate to the point. It seems a little messy, but I think Tom Taylor is kind of, all these Taylors are fucking me up, man. I think Tom Taylor is trying to make it very apparent to the reader that he is avoiding the use of pronouns to kind of leave it open either way. Personally, I think he was trying to indicate that Gabby is gay. But I'm wondering maybe if Marvel had reservations because she's, 2 degrees away from Wolverine?
Yeah.
But the point that I wanted to kind of tie all together is that if Craig Kyle was talking about the fact that Laura was always gay, and Gabby is Laura's clone, does that mean they're both gay?
Oh.
Uh-huh.
I mean, yeah, I'm okay with this. With this, yeah. Because I'm gonna try to process do you pass your sexuality onto your clone? But then that also adds to the argument of Logan being queer, which the fan community loves to run with. So yay.
And not only that, but Dakin's bi.
Yup.
just queer the whole family.
Queer the whole freaking squad. I'm down.
Well, to be fair, Logan has sex with everyone.
Yes, and he's in a polyamorous relationship with Scott and Jean right now, which is canon thanks to Hickman. So
and all their bedrooms are nearby. Yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah, he's boning Cyclops.
I mean, normally I'd say he's a bear, but I don't know if that applies here. Can you be a bear if you're Wolverine?
Yeah. He'd be a silver bear at this point. But
silver bear. He
would be.
He was a silver bear 60 years ago.
Yeah. Technically old man Logan would be the silver bear, but in terms of age, Logan would qualify as the silver bear. So yeah.
But I mean, that's just kind of the fun point that I wanted to tie it all together, is that if Tom Taylor's over here trying to hint that Gabby is gay, and Craig Kyle says to him that, Laura has always been gay, and, Hickman's bringing in the fact that, Logan's over here in a relationship with Scott and Jean, Dakin's bi, just make the whole family queer. This is X-Men, damn it. Everybody's gay.
I'm okay with this.
But that is,
I'll pass the gay judgment. Wolverine's gay. It's okay.
like I said, that is my super gratuitous point.
I love it.
I'd almost actually say that Logan's probably pansexual. Like, I don't think he cares. Like, if he can have sex with you, then like he'll be more than willing to have sex with you. Right.
Like, I feel like Logan is at this point where he goes, okay, yeah, you make my pee-pee tingle. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yo, panel to panel canon, Logan is queer.
It's the whole gene pool, fam.
Yeah. But what does that say about Sarah Kinney? Is she the only straight out of this, or is she gay too?
Yes. Yes.
But no, when I was writing the outline, that's when I kind of started to pull all of these little bits together. Because, when I was reading it, part of me joked that, okay, Laura's clone is gay, does that mean Laura's gay too? And as, later when I'm writing the outline, everything just kind of fell in place, and I'm like, this is perfect, and I love it, and I have to bring it up.
Yes.
But the whole old woman Laura story arc is Laura reveals to Gabby that she's dying, and she does it very matter-of-factly, because, kind of going back on my rambling, Gabby's brought food, they're talking, Laura asks how the family is, that kind of thing. And then she reveals, oh, by the way, I'm dying. Pass the napkins. And Gabby starts, this is not how you announce these things. And that's when Laura says that she's having some kind of a cellular breakdown, and actually went behind Gabby's back and had Gabby and her two sons tested. And they don't have this same thing. So, and Gabby's kids' names are Logan and Wade.
I love it.
Because Gabby actually has a really genuine friendship with Deadpool.
Yes. That
at one point in the Immune story, because they're both a little zany, and at one point towards the end, before they go off in space in the Immune story arc, Gabby actually cuts off her middle finger and gives it to Deadpool. And he is just so touched that it will insult him forever. and he loves it so much. God. To the point he starts to cry. He loves it so much.
I love it.
Oh my God.
So, no, her two sons' names are Logan and Wade, and they are apparently a handful, because Gabby is a handful. And whoever Taylor is, I feel so bad for them.
That's great.
But Laura decides to tie up loose ends. The lost sister is inexplicably being held by Doctor Doom because Madripoor, I guess.
Of all people.
And so she gets to team up with like old ass Carol Danvers, and she kind of assembles this team. And
old ass Maria Hill.
I think Kate Bishop's there too.
Yup.
It's great.
They just call all the women for one last swing at the hit, and I'm like, yes, I'm so down with this.
Pretty much. And it's supposed to culminate with this, Laura saves her lost sister, everything kind of works out, and, she is ready to die. She's done what she wanted to do. She's ready for this sacrifice. And Gabby says, fuck no.
I love how, when Carol and friggin' and Kate show up, then they go, oh, a bird told us you were doing some stupid shit. And Gabby's just like, I regret nothing.
And, so it's what would, in a superhero book, what would normally be the big emotional climax of, Laura did what she did to do. She's ready to sacrifice. She's ready to go. Gabby's like, dude, shut the fuck up. We are friends with some of the most powerful scientists and magicians in this universe. We can figure out what is wrong. So she just kind of hoists her up and tells Laura to shut the fuck up. And Laura, surprisingly, for once, just shuts the fuck up. And that's how the book ends, with kind of cementing that bond of sisterhood. That this family story arc has now come full circle. And, we see it start very tentatively in the beginning to the point of where it is at the end. it is genuinely, for me, the biggest theme of the book is family. So that
also, Jan was here the whole time. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Janet Van Doombot. Okay, that's cool.
Janet Van Doombot. But because she gets stuck being real small and whatnot, and it is bizarre. And Tom Taylor's just having way too much damn fun with it.
I love this. Like, this literally just feels like the ultimate final bout for all these women, and I love it.
Mm-hmm. Ironically, the second theme I had on my list was Gabby herself, and I think I kind of tied that in with the first part.
Yeah, you did.
That, you know, they are... Gabby is a reflection of Laura from the X-23 book, but it is not a carbon copy, if that makes any sense.
What the... Why does Doom just have random people in cages?
Because Doom.
Because he's Doom.
He has Old Man Miles in a cage, some random woman as Captain America in a cage. I'm going to go with Tom Taylor took a page from Al Ewing and made Gabrielle Cage Captain America.
Mm-hmm, I think so.
And then random Old Man Daredevil and Rocket Raccoon.
Yeah, there is a complete lack of exposition in the story arc, other than Laura is Queen of Madripoor.
And then Thor's randomly here too.
I think it's Tom Taylor looking at his watch going, okay, I got like 6 issues left. What do I do? Fuck it, future Laura.
I love it. And it's like, he's gonna do whatever the fuck he wants, because like it's the end of All New, All Different Marvel and Marvel Now, and he knows that Marvel doesn't give a fuck about all this diversity that they were pushing. So he's just like, you know what? I'm gonna do it all right here. And I don't care. Like, yeah, Thor's not a female anymore, but like I'm still gonna do it. Like, who cares?
Something I can touch on with Gabby is, you know, because we talked about her being similar to Laura, but not a mirror image of Laura. She's not some, you know, carbon copy that serves no emotional or narrative role.
Yeah.
But she inevitably falls into the same problem that a lot of newer mutants do. That she is nowhere to be seen now.
Yeah, and like even Ian, like which cool thing, Ian actually helped out with the shout outs we did for our episode. He even says like Hickman tried to randomly change her name to Scout and then like didn't do anything with her. And it's like she's just...
I thought it was Tamaki. I thought it was Tamaki that changed her name to Scout.
Oh, it was Tamaki. And was it Tamaki? I don't know. But he pointed out that Hickman just like has not used her whatsoever. Now, granted, Hickman gets props because he changed Laura back to Wolverine, but like Gabby's nowhere to be found.
And this is kind of where Gabby does start to differ from other New Mutants. So she falls into the same trap, but it's a little different because fans took to Gabby almost immediately. Because, you know, she wasn't just some replacement or some rando that we're never going to see again. She became a major character of the book. And is genuinely a very popular character. And, you know, after All-New Wolverine ended, she was still going in X-Men Red. And then X-Men Red ended. Then we go into X-Men Disassembled, and she is off in the weird alternate universe mutant prison that was going on at that time.
Yeah...
I think it was Prisoner X. She was in that for a hot minute, and those books didn't make any sense because the mutants who were in those books weren't supposed to be in the main timeline, but Danny Moonstar is in Prisoner X, but is one of the mutants who didn't get sent to the alternate universe. Yeah, that's about how much... That is about how much sense Age of X.
I refuse to read that mess, and I'm so much better for it.
They're not good.
I don't even know how I'm still reading Hickman's crap, because that thing is a mess and a half as well, but it's good mess.
It's a good mess.
Yeah. But after just slightly before Hickman, where Magneto kind of resets everything there at the end, we have not seen Gabby since. There has been no mention of her. She has, in effect, as where the narrative is right now, has seemingly been retconned or is off doing something else. Now, Krakoa is a big island, so she may pop up eventually, but people aren't happy. Especially in a book that the core theme was family, and not only that, but family legacy. That, Logan has this complicated relationship with Laura, and Laura sets up having this complicated relationship with Gabby, but it becomes more. It's not just a repackaging of Logan and Laura's relationship. It kind of starts out that way because, nobody really knows what to do. Laura's never done this before, but it becomes a very, mutually beneficial relationship for the both of them. And it is so emotional and significant, and then it's just gone. And I'm really pretty upset by it. A lot of fans are upset by it, and it's just been hard to deal with.
It's kind of messed up, to be honest with you.
So, you guys have any thoughts?
Travis, you can go first.
I'm the casual, so I'm like learning as we go.
See? Oh, go ahead, Mary.
I was just going to say, hopefully anything I said just made sense, because I feel like I just rambled for 40 hours.
I mean, I've gotten a pretty decent idea of what's happened so far without having read it.
Like, especially the parts that I missed, I kind of got really dig into this. And it's like, for me, it's the same thing with Kate for me, where it was like Kate and Laura were always meant to take over the mantles of their successors. Kate was meant to take over for Clint. Laura was meant to take over for Logan. And for them to just spit in her face and bring OG Logan back felt like the worst thing they could possibly do. And that's why when you suggested this, I was like, yes, let's do this, because the idea of making this happen and shining light on her character was great for me. And to even go back, because I have a whole long box of like 1 and 2, because 2 was worth like $50 still because of Gabby's first appearance. And then I fell off of buying the book for a little bit, and then I hopped back on when Marvel Now started. And it's such a good story, and Taylor can craft anything and make it into gold. Like, you don't even have to take our word for it. Go read Batman Annual #2 from last year, and you can read his his few page story of Alfred and Bruce's relationship, and you will know how good of a writer Tom Taylor is. So when you bring that to a story like this, where you have a sisterhood forming and them still trying to be their own version of Wolverine, it's so good. And there's me ranting for like 2 seconds.
So, something that kind of existed on the periphery of my notes was one of my famous reaches. Because you guys like to know I like to make something out of nothing.
Yes.
Do it.
Mary's hot takes. Do it.
Mary's hot takes, but let's go. I didn't give you a theme song.
I feel like Gabby is a certain kind of a narrative subversion. Because are either of you familiar with the theme called the datification of games?
Sounds familiar.
Basically, that male protagonists are given young women to look after, to protect, to teach, to train.
Holy crap, yes.
That, because, what is it? Oh my god.
The Witcher's a big one for that.
The Witcher, the Telltale Walking Dead series, the first season.
Yep.
My god, what's that game? Fuck. I don't have a PlayStation. I've never played. No.
Last of Us?
Last of Us, thank you. Oh my god, I don't play on PlayStation.
Last of Us was a big one too. Yeah.
I've actually never played it because I don't have a PlayStation.
It's fine. I didn't finish it, so you're fine.
But I mean,
I was crying in the first 5 minutes.
But you have things like The Last of Us, BioShock Infinite. So and it's not even, I'm not trying to make any kind of a point about what video games say about women or anything like that. I'm talking specifically about how these male characters are, in a sense, thrust into a fathership role. And in the sense of BioShock Infinite, quite literally, I guess. But, if you take that theory and you go back to the original X-23 book, it's kind of the datification of Wolverine. Because if you look at her origin in the cartoon, that is the immediate conflict that they have. If you look at the movie Logan, it's the immediate thing that's there. I mean, it's the whole emotional high point of the film is when Logan is dying and Laura's begging for her daddy not to die.
Yup, straight up calls him dad crying.
Mm-hmm. And you go to Laura being a central protagonist in her own solo series. And I almost feel like, you know, to have a character that young in a title that violent, mature in the sense of, you know, violence, not in terms of content, if that makes any sense. I don't want mature to imply something sexual. But a parental advisory labeled book, is Laura kind of a dadification of comics character? Because Laura's popularity took off almost immediately, and, you know, you have this young woman who, you know, a lot of these older male readers really took to. And like I said, it was just kind of this theory I was kicking around in my brain for a while. Like, is Laura kind of that character? Because, you know, eventually, even when she does meet up with Logan, it becomes a very strained father-daughter relationship. And so if you think about it in the context of that theory, and then if you turn around and try to apply it to Gabby, it becomes genuinely very interesting, because Gabby is the subversion of that. That Laura is not, you know, Logan, who was thrust into a fathership role. Laura tried to be Logan and realized very quickly that she didn't have to do that. So she kind of had to reject the notion of being a parent to be a sister, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just a theory that I was kicking around in my brain for a little bit. I don't know. I don't know if it made sense or not, but
it did. It made absolute perfect sense.
I just saw that we had time and thought it would be interesting to mention. I never fully quite developed the theory. My note cards are full of scribbled messes, so. But.
Okay. I'm down.
And honestly, for me, I feel like that's really kind of where it all comes to an end. I have these all separate points, but I think throughout the conversation, I ended up combining all of them.
Honestly, looking over the outline, yeah, you kind of did. So no, that was some good stuff. Is there anything you want to close with?
I don't know. I just feel like I rambled the whole episode.
No, you did good. I have a pretty good idea of what we should do for next week that we will talk about off. We'll leave it as a surprise.
Okay, it'll be
an idea. I got a pretty good idea. But this was a really good thing for me. I loved revisiting this. Travis, did you enjoy your time learning from Professor Mary?
Yes, this was actually really educational.
Awesome.
Okay. So at least I don't sound like a rambling idiot. I always feel like
no. Okay. Don't forget, folks, that you can listen to this podcast on, I almost said panel to panel. What the hell? You can listen to this podcast on panel to panel, but now you listen to iTunes / Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, YouTube, Overcast, a couple other things, but we don't support SoundCloud. And you can follow us on Twitter at PTP_podcast, where weekly we live tweet the episode as we're recording it, and we put it up usually the next day or the day after that. Usually we record on Saturday but put up Monday, but tonight we recorded on Sunday and we're putting out tomorrow for you good folks. So you can check us out when we do that. Help retweet and check out some of the funny stuff we say before we put out the episode. And you can follow the website on Twitter and Instagram on Comics Ground, and you can check out the website on comics-ground.com on the web, so that way you can check out all of our reviews, solicitations, reviews, all that good stuff. And we will catch you folks next time. Mary, what is your closing statement for this episode of Panel to Panel?
Read All-New Wolverine. It's a fun book. Like,
it really is.
And do not let my rambling deter you from reading it.
Travis, what is your closing statement for this episode of Panel to Panel?
The idea that Squirrel Girl is so adorable that she thinks everyone who's animal-related can talk to animals, but she beat Galactus's ass.
Bro, yes. Squirrel Girl is just amazing, and I am here for
another level.
All right, and my closing statement, as always, is support your local comic book shop. Please support this girl, because honestly, Laura will probably be my Wolverine for the rest of my life. Like, James Howlett is my first love, but at the end of the day, his time had ended for me when I was coming back into comics, and I needed it to be over, but he's here, and he's in a polyamorous relationship, and I don't care. So we are going to enjoy that factoid, and we will catch you folks next time right here at Panel to Panel. Peace out.